Ready? All right. Go ahead and call this meeting to order, January 17th, 2023. We do have a quorum present with all 5 commissioners here. Please join us and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first up, commissioners, we do need to amend the agenda. We had a public hearing scheduled originally for planning and zoning for the request to approve resolution 23-01-ZO-02. That has been tabled at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting last week. So I would ask that or entertain a motion to approve the agenda with that removal.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Got a motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shanefield. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next up, we have the county resident comments and concerns section of the agenda. At this time, if there's anyone from the audience who would like to address the governing body on any issue whatsoever, now is your time. Yeah, go ahead, Mark. Looks like there's just a few of you, so if you want to speak now, that'll be fine.
Mr. Chairman, there were some going to get on Zoom at 8:50, but I told them to try to get on earlier, so I'm not sure. So you might watch.
Yeah, and that's fine. If we have to bring them forward at the wildlife presentation, we can.
Okay.
Good morning.
Hi, my name is Mark Gillespie. I'm the president of the Wyoming Best of the Best Coyote Organization. We put on roughly 8 coyote hunts around the state of Wyoming. And we do so in different counties. And in Sweetwater County, we do one hunt, and then sometimes we do a state championship hunt. So I'd like to address what I think is going to be a topic that is going to be brought forward to you guys. And I'd just like to bring up a couple topics. The Wyoming Best of the Best goal is to harvest adult coyotes. And the reason we want to go after the adult coyotes during the winter months is to reduce the impact on the deer and antelope fawns in the herd, because that's what they prey on mostly. They do go after the adults, but mostly after the does and fawns. And then also the sheep for the livestock industry. They prey on the lambs and the ewes in the herds of sheep. And then in the spring, the adult coyotes will go after the newborn fawns and of the deer, antelope, elk calves, lambs from the sheep, and even the calving of the cows. So that's our main goal, is to reduce the adult population. So in the spring, there's less impact. And that's the goal of our organization. We kill roughly 400 to 500 coyotes a year. So we do have some impact on it, and we do help out. And the Game and Fish is in support of this. And so is the livestock industry. Back in 2017, the plaintiff, Joyce Corcoran, brought a suit against us for gambling. And she worked with the ALDF, which is the Animal Legal Defense Fund. They're out of California, and they roughly have like $9 million in the bank. We are just a small group, and we have nothing. And that suit cost us $15,000 to fight. We won the suit in 2017, and they determined, Judge Lavery determined that coyote hunting is a skill, not a luck thing. So it wasn't gambling. So we did win the court case, and I do have a copy of that I could leave with you guys if you wanted to review that. Other events that are similar to our event, one of the topics that is going to come up is that we hunt for prize money and for the biggest coyote, the smallest coyote, the most coyotes. And I just want to bring to your attention that there are other things in Sweetwater County to refer to, such as the Mac attack that just happened down at the gorge. It's fishing, but it's the same principles. It's for money for the largest fish, the most fish, and there's prize money given away for that. And just a quick, I'm just going to do this quickly. The Burbot Bash, the Manila Fishing Derby, the Buckboard Fishing Derby, the radio station Big Bull Contest, Big Buck Contests, even the Boone and Crockett Club, which is nationwide, honors people for all-time awards with the biggest mule deer, the biggest elk, the biggest moose, and so on like that. So, and then the Safari Club is the same as the Boone and Crockett Club, just different measurement techniques, and they do the same thing. One of the other things that will be mentioned if Miss Anderson shows up is the use of electronic calls to imitate breeding sounds of coyotes or distress sounds of coyotes. I just want to remind you that deer hunting has grunt calls for deer. Elk has bugling for deer. Turkey uses gobbles and different sounds for attracting turkeys for hunting purposes. And then moose is the same thing, and ducks and geese. You sit in the blind and you call these animals, the wildlife into the group to be shot and harvested. So it's not just the coyote hunting that they're after. The goal of this group, this Wyoming Wildlife Protection Group, is to stop all hunting. So they pick on the coyote hunting groups because we're a small group. We're not as organized as the bigger groups. We don't have any money, and they go after us first to win that battle, and then they go after the larger groups to eventually eliminate deer hunting, elk hunting, which is pretty substantial to the state of Wyoming for wildlife, and brings a lot of money into the hotels, the businesses, and stuff like that. So I just want you to consider that. Another thing that might be brought up, and it's in the document that I read, that California has stopped coyote contests in that state. Well, California is one of the most aggressive people towards stopping hunting. And in California, they haven't stopped coyote hunting contests. What they have ruled on is they limit the prize money for each event. So like for big coyote, they limit it to $500, little coyote, $500, most coyotes, $500. Mangy coyote, $500. So when they say that it's eliminated in their documents, they are lying to you guys because they're turning the truth around so that it benefits them, because it hasn't been stopped in California. This group has protested me at different events in Rock Springs, and we've been very nice to them. We haven't caused any problems or anything like that. And far as I know, we're not causing any problems. We have a lot of people come to our hunts and they have fun. They bring their families, they bring their children. We don't affect the children. We have people less than 12 years old, kids in our hunts. And it's not like we're doing any harm to them. This Wyoming Wildlife Protection Group is supported. It's a small group in Sweetwater County, but it's supported by Wyoming Untrapped, which is out of Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Lisa Robertson, she's a key advocate for that. The ALDF, which is out of California. And believe it or not, the Humane Society has taken this, where the Humane Society has even published a 45-page document where and I have a copy of it at home, where they try to eliminate coyote hunting contests. It's a playbook for groups to go out and try to eliminate coyote hunting contests. And it's a 45-page document. And if you read what was going to be presented, it's taken right out of the playbook. I mean, you could read the playbook and take the comments right out of there. The comments that they make, they twist them, and they're not like they say. The Game and Fish says that they support these people from stopping coyote contests, and they're not saying that. The way they twist it, it just reads that way. So when you review the document that I see before you guys, just remember that there's some half truths in that, and it's not really the way it's supposed to be written. And with that, I don't have anything else to add.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate you being here. Any questions, commissioners?
I think so.
Thanks for bringing this to
Oh,
our attention
okay.
and showing up today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Is there anyone else that would like to address the governing body? Come on up, sir. Good morning. Good, how are you?
Bill Tolliver with Greeniver Livestock Company. And I chaired Sweetwater County Predator Animal Board for many, many years and on the Weed and Pest Board. But we supported these people, these hunt clubs, because coyotes are a major problem. And if you look at the sage-grouse populations, and right now there's areas in Sweetwater County where the BLM's restricted your ability to drive somewhere because of sage-grouse. Coyotes are a big problem, ravens are a big problem, and golden eagles are a big problem. And we used to control coyotes by putting toxicants out on the range in sheep baits, and we took a lot of it. But that got to be something that the people didn't want. And I think these hunt clubs are doing a good job, but you need to control those coyote populations. They just do. And I liked the deal where she says they use electronic things to attract the coyote in. And I agree. They use it for elk, they use it for deer, they use it for everything else. And once you stop it on coyotes, the next one will be to be on elk, to be on deer. And most certainly the coyotes need to be controlled. As Mary would know, having a sheep outfit, coyotes are the #1 predator. And today we don't have as much problem. We've got on every herd of sheep, maybe 8 guard dogs around those sheep that cost from $800 to $1,200 a head to have out, keeping coyotes out. And of course, the sheep numbers have gone so far down that there used to be 235,000 head of sheep winter around Rock Springs and Greeniver. And I'll bet there's only 30,000 this year. So everything has an impact, but I think this lady's plumb goofy. And if she wants to be banned from 500,000 acres of Rock Springs grazing land and 14,000 acres of our land, tell her just to go ahead. She can just stay in town. This is getting crazy. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it. Any questions, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner,
Mr.
Fuller.
Fuller, just a quick question from your experience, and you've been in this for a long time. Have you seen any studies on how many coyotes there are in the state of Wyoming?
I don't have any idea, but I know if you went up the Blue Rim Road yesterday and talked to either one of those sheep herders, and I don't know the outfits out of Idaho that's grazing up there. I talked to one yesterday and he says, my God, you got a lot of coyotes in these canyons. And so there's plenty out there. But again, they all have guard dogs with those herds, and that's helped immensely. But when you get lambing, and especially those that lamb on open range, they can't have the guard dogs there. And so then they got real coyote problems at that point in time. The only time they use guard dogs is after you get a herd put together.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Anyone else who would like to address the governing body? Look like anyone online, Cindy? Okay. If more do show up, I know we had kind of a delay because of the originally scheduled public hearing. And so I think talking with some of you commissioners, you were thinking around 8:50 might be the time for some to come.
While we're on the Predator Animal Board, we actually pushed that they have prizes for little ones and middle-sized ones and big ones. Because when it started, they were looking for big ones only. And you got to control the total populations. And so we encouraged pushing for the little ones. Also,
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Tomer.
Dr. Davidson of the Predator Board wished to testify, but he was going to join on Zoom probably at 8:50.
Yes, what I was saying is if more join in, then,
Yeah.
we can allow the presentation at 10:30 and allow it for more comment after that. So as you can see, we have a pretty stacked agenda, so we will move forward if there's no other county resident comments or concerns. Okay, come on up, please.
Okay,
Please introduce yourself.
you're gonna have to deal with my reading, okay?
Okay.
I'm not a very good presenter. Okay. Wait, that's the wrong thing.
Start with your name, so we have it for the record.
Thank you, commissioners, for taking our comments. My name is Laura Tolliver Pearson. I am a sixth-generation sheep rancher here in Southwest Wyoming. I am commenting in opposition to the Wyoming Wildlife Protection Group's future testimony on wildlife killing contests. Like it or not, coyotes are one of the #1 predators for livestock operations across our state. If you get on the Wyoming ADMB website, you can clearly see the graphs supporting my testimony. These contests are, I believe, just another tool in helping control this highly destructive population. As far as using calling devices, elk hunters use calling devices all the time. As far as denying that coyotes attack children and pets, there is much documentation in southern states, and our own wildlife services organizations use decoy dogs. As far as coyotes threatening farm animals and diminishing populations of game animals, well, they absolutely do, contrary to this organization's beliefs. When we used to range lamb, our lambing percentage averaged about 125%. Now that we are shed lambing, we average about 190%. These are huge losses to the industry. Although I do agree that these contests will not prevent conflicts with livestock, every little bit helps. To make the statement that these animals, if left alone, will only hunt raccoons, mice, rodents, and other small animals is false. Like it or not, these animals hunt for sport, many times not even consuming their prey. Lastly, bringing the argument that these contests glorify killing and send a dangerous message to our youth that killing is fun and that life is of little value is appalling. What about the message of our Second Amendment rights, responsible use of a firearm, or protecting our food sources or livelihoods? That's all I have so far. I was going to do the conclusion here, but thank you for hearing my testimony, and I'm going to give you some pictures.
While we wait on those, is there anyone else in the public comment section that would like to address the governing body?
And this last one is on our ranch.
Thank you, Laura. Appreciate it. Okay, we will now close county resident comments and concerns. As mentioned, if more show up due to the delay in the agenda with that public hearing, we'll allow some additional time during the wildlife presentation at the end of that. So with that, commissioners, next up on the agenda is tab B, the consent agenda. Has everyone had enough time to review the minutes of the January 3rd, 2023 meeting, along with county vouchers, warrants, bonds, hospital maintenance expenditures, and the monthly reports? If so, are there any questions? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Shanefield. We have a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richards. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Next on the agenda is commissioner comments. It looks like I'm up first. Not a whole lot to report. It's been a busy, chaotic couple weeks of getting my feet wet here. It's been very interesting in that realm as well. Lots of hardworking individuals and departments that I'm getting to know more about here at the county, and I look forward to working together more in the future. as you all know, spent quite a bit of time trying to develop liaison lists and duties, and we'll discuss that a little more later on in the agenda. But hopefully we can move forward with that and give a little more direction to the departments and some of the outside agencies and component units. I wanted to, I guess, commend, there was an article released yesterday, as you all saw, out of the sheriff's office, and in particular, our public affairs director, Mr. Maurer. Pretty moving story, I felt, and it was just nice to see the different collaboration amongst Gene and Road and Bridge. I know that department has been working around the clock with trying to keep the county plowed out with these winter storm events. And then we had the search and rescue crews and the sheriff's office and working together with YDOT. You know, for a lot of us that actually live here, we would think it's crazy to take Bar X Road in the middle of a winter storm, but those that are from Wisconsin or, you know, New York may not think about that. And so, you know, I'm thankful for those resources that were able to go out and save those lives. I cannot imagine having a 2-year-old stranded in the middle of a borrow ditch during a storm like we had. So I think it's a positive move moving forward now that the county and YDOT have been able to get together with the official mapping system. Sounds like more is to come on that in regards to GPS navigation systems. And I know they'll continue to work on that, but I think that's a big win. And I thank those individuals and departments for doing such a good job and taking care of that. Outside of that, I look forward to traveling to Cheyenne, hopefully with the 4 of you today, depending on how this all goes, and learning more with the WCCA as well as the legislative session. Rob informed that he is willing to pick up all expenses while we're down there. So as soon as we get his room number, I'll forward that on to you, so we can be sure to charge everything to his room. But with that, I look forward to the weeks ahead. I had a great time setting the agenda for you all today. I figured I'd go ahead and throw us all in the deep end without any floaties. Excuse me, for the second meeting of the year, but look forward to sorting through some of these issues and getting to learn more in Cheyenne. If there's not any questions, Commissioner Richards, you're up next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, fellow commissioners. Just have a few things to report. Last Wednesday, I attended the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting regarding the variance request that we had on our agenda. It was concerning the dumping of some construction waste on residential property here in the county. The decision on how to proceed was ultimately tabled by the board in order to give the applicant a little bit more time to work on a plan to remedy the situation, and they'll be addressing it further at the next P&Z meeting in February. I just want to comment that the members of the Planning and Zoning Commission, I want to commend them on how thorough they were and how thoughtful they were in the process, and all the issues they're faced with. They do a really good job on behalf of Sweetwater County and the work that they do. Also on Wednesday, I went to the meeting of the 10 Mile Water District Board and visited with them about the letter we received from the State of Wyoming Department of Audit concerning the missing reports that the state requires them to file. I explained that the state statutes give the commissioners very little leeway in how we resolve that situation and encourage them to move quickly to rectify the situation. And they assured me that they would move quickly and get that taken care of. Finally, I just want to note that I'm looking forward to spending the rest of the week in Cheyenne at the County Commission Association meeting with all 4 of you. I look forward to the continuing education, and it's a great opportunity to do some networking and meet with some legislators and do good things for Sweetwater County. That's all I have for you today, Mr. Chairman, and I'll stand for any questions.
Questions for Commissioner Richards? Thanks, Commissioner. Appreciate you looking into that 10-mile issue as well. Commissioner Slaughter, you're up next.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. And since you threw me under the bus, I would like to state I did stop at purchasing. I do have a county credit card, but they did warn me that I would have to be aware that I cannot take care of your tab at the bar. So
Huh.
why
are we going
I
on
can
that?
cover the rest of those. Mr. Chairman, taking a less light approach now. I've spent the last couple of weeks trying to learn much more about this position. I've been in contact with several of our county department heads, several of our county boards, and have just continued learning. I also had a meeting with our county treasurer and the deputy county attorney, Mr. De Leon, regarding an issue which we've got, which will probably come to our agenda in February, regarding the Jamestown Water District and some things that took place with respect to the agreement that was made with them for the county to potentially bill the clients of the water district for their water usage. And we came to several different conclusions, but we are waiting for some additional information that I think Mr. De Leon has now received. But that will be something I think we will be addressing in the near future. I was able to go out and visit the night building. Mr. Legursky took me out there, or I should say that I met him out there, and was pleased to see the night building, the condition that it is in. I think it's going to be a definite benefit to the county and our road and bridge department. I think when all is said and done, that will be something that we will definitely see as an asset. With that said, I don't think that there's anything else of much importance that I did over the last couple of weeks, so I would stand for any questions.
I have one, Commissioner. I know Jamestown was also on that audit list from the state. Did you have a chance to discuss that issue with them or?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I did. On the call that we had, the president of their board, I believe he's President Cale Jasperson, was on that board, and their attorney Steve Palmer was there. I did bring that to their attention, and I was asked to send them a copy of that dissolution letter that we received from the state auditor. I did send that on to them, and they once again said that they would be working on that immediately. In fact, they said that they thought that it had been taken care of earlier in the week, but they would verify.
Okay, great. Appreciate that. Any other questions for Commissioner Slaughter? Thanks for the update, Rob. Commissioner Tillman.
I attended the Zoom meeting for on Pulse, which is headed by Fred Von Air, and I appreciate his organization and having the quarterly meetings to focus on various subjects. They had the Wyoming Taxpayers Association talk to us about the various taxes and income coming into the state and the legislative update. So that was a great meeting. Thank you to that group. I attended the airport board meeting. That's always an exciting one. The terminal project is on hold right now. The terminal probably won't be completed until summer of 2024. They're working with SkyWest to keep air service coming in and out. They're filling the 50 passenger planes every day. They're filling that plane, but SkyWest wants to reduce the size of the plane to 30 passenger planes because they can get there are different qualifications for the type of pilots that can fly those planes, but we're concerned because we're using the maximum ability that we can, and SkyWest wants to continue to give us only the same amount of income and charging us the same for 30 passenger as a 50 passenger. So it would be a cost to the county and to the airport because we help subsidize that SkyWest process. Commemorative Air Force is coming to Rock Springs June 5th to the 12th, and there will be public meetings and rides, and so that will be an exciting event. The airplane or the airport is holding its own as far as economically drawing in income from hangar rentals, and jet fuel is down overall 12.6%, but it was actually up 31% in January. The avgas over the course of the year up to now is up 31.5%. And we have a greater margin of profit on that. So that is helping the airport's funding, their budget process. Those are the main topics that they talked about yesterday at the airport board meeting. I will be attending the WCCA conference. As I said, coalition meeting is next Wednesday, 25th. If any of the commissioners want to attend that, let me know. You'll see an email coming through on that. Worked with Gene and De Leon and the sheriff and his staff as far as the snow resolution. It doesn't look so bad going up and down the interstate, but if you get off 20-30 miles, we have deep snow. There are antelope and deer that are struggling to get through the snow, and there are going to be death losses of livestock and wildlife because of the heavy snow that we're seeing in Wamsutter area, Farson, Fontenelle, all of those areas. The snow is much deeper than it is here. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Commissioner Tillman. Any questions? If not, Commissioner Shanefield, you are up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So first I'd like, we just had a SEDC meeting last week and Eric and Kayla did a radio show with Johnny K and invited Chris Williams, the local manager from Caltech. This was last Thursday. And so I just want to give a quick update on Caltech. They are beginning their hiring at the end of this month. Through the first week of February, and they're producing all new firearms for this location moving forward. The new firearm that will be released this year will be tested in the coming weeks, and production will begin in the next couple of months. And there's going to be an announcement from Caltech on this coming soon as well. They are interested in anybody that is looking to apply, and you can find that on their website, and you can also just run it out to their location at 2201 West Blairtown Road. SEDC is also going to be featured now for the third time, which is a feature for Sweetwater County as a whole, in the April edition of Business in Focus magazine. The topic is going to be tourism and economic development in Sweetwater County. And a few of the other features that SEDC has had in that magazine has led to some business leads and some interest externally in Sweetwater County and what we have to offer. Governor Gordon is going to be visiting Sweetwater County January 27th. So he is making some plans right now and will be in touch. I do believe that there is the plan to have a meeting with all elected officials, as well as some other community meetings. His goal coming to Sweetwater County this month is to really get out in the community and have those conversations with our residents. So Christina, I wanted to give an update on the opioid settlement funds. We all got an email on this, but Christina was able to speak with the Attorney General's office on the National Opioid Settlement Fund. There's 2 lawsuits that were finalized, and then there's 5 more settlements that are coming up. So Wyoming will receive millions of dollars over a number of decades, and Sweetwater County will receive 7.64% of that total amount. The payments are expected to begin within the next few months, and we don't have definite figures yet. However, that's something that Christina will be working on. She was very specific, and they were very specific about this, the settlement funds being specific for abatement purposes, and they must be used within a certain criteria. And so her suggestion is to utilize that money as a grant funding and track it specifically to ensure that we're following that criteria once we get it. I look forward to headed to Cheyenne again. I spent some time there last week as well, and then I will be there the rest of this week. And I look forward to the WCCA meeting and spending some time with our legislators. And I think that's everything. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Any other questions? Very good.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Tillman.
I appreciate your getting the agenda out. I know it was a jammed up session process. Maybe we should consider a cutoff time of 5 o'clock on Monday to give you time and all of us to review it. And maybe as commissioners, we could give you a heads up before we add something to the agenda.
That would be nice. That is kind of a difficult thing that I don't know if you all know, but the public probably doesn't either. With the Green River Star being our paper of record, the deadline to get the agenda to them is Tuesday at noon. And so historically, the county cutoff has been Tuesday at 10 a.m. That only leaves obviously a 2-hour window for Sally to gather everything, get it over for approval through myself. If I have any questions, as you can see, it's very difficult to get some of that addressed in a 2-hour period. And really, it's not even 2 hours. I mean, depending on how quick things come in, you may even have 45 minutes to make a decision on whether or not it should be on the agenda. So it's a difficult thing. I assume that the reason for their deadline obviously is because their paper comes out on Thursday and that's it. But by the time Monday comes around, I mean, you have over a week before the next meeting and a lot can change, which, by the way, someone asked me why our agenda reads tentative and subject to change at the top of it. Well, that's why. A lot can come in throughout the week in between our meetings, and it's difficult to essentially set an agenda a week in advance, but I'm open to suggestions. I know it's a difficult thing. We had some last minute items come in right at about 10:30, which is a little bit past the deadline. That makes it difficult on Sally, makes it difficult on myself as far as whether or not to boot those to the next agenda or not. So I'm fine with the 5 o'clock on Monday night. But I don't know how that works for the other departments. For you all, I mean, it's difficult as well if the cutoff is 10 a.m. and then I review it, send it to you guys. If you don't get back to me by noon, what am I supposed to do? You know, it just seems like you're always behind in that realm. So I don't know that there's a crystal ball other than not having to send it that far in advance because there's only a circulation of a paper once a week. But any other-
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Shanefield.
Thank you. I think that part of your responsibility as being the chairman is to, have that ready for us. And I don't feel it necessary for us to review it before it goes out. At least for me to review it before it goes out. I have faith that you'll get everything handled the way it needs to be. And I think that whatever we need to do to get it to you and to make it easier on Sally and you, the better. So just let us know.
Any other thoughts?
Mr. Chairman, I would agree. I don't feel that it's necessary for me to approve your approval of the agenda. We gave you the tough job.
Mighty wise of you and kind of you, I might add.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I didn't mean to say that we had to pre-approve the agenda. I meant to say that if we have an item to put on the agenda, if we could give you a heads up so that you know what's coming for the agenda, that might make it easier for you to be able to put the agenda together. No, I didn't mean that we have to see the agenda ahead of.
Well, that's what you said. You said send it out the night before. So
No, I said maybe we should select a 5 p.m. Monday cutoff time. And if we as commissioner have items to put on the agenda, if we could give you a heads up before the deadline that we're asking to put it on the agenda.
very good. That'd be beneficial. We could try it. I'm open. If we want to try Mondays at 5 p.m. for the deadline, that does allow for more time for Sally and myself. So if you're good with that, let's try that. And if we need more time, I'd love to be able to meet with Green River Star to push that back. But I think with their printing timelines and everything, that they're kind of stuck as well. So that's what we'll do moving forward if you're all amenable to that. Monday at 5. Okay. Any other? No. Next up is tab C. We are ahead of schedule. I'm okay with that personally, because I think we're going to get behind later on as we get into the weeds on some of these items. So if you're good with it all, we'll move forward with the 2023 conflict of interest disclosure. I believe we have to read these out loud, but Cindy's going to come up and explain what we're supposed to do. Morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioner. Sorry, I was sick last week, so I may have to clear my throat a lot. Pursuant to Wyoming Statute 6-5-118, conflict of interest disclosures. Put my glasses on here. No public officer or public servant who invests public funds for a unit of government or who has authority to decide how public funds are invested shall transact any personal business with, receive any pecuniary benefit from, or have any financial interest. Hold on, I just lost my place here. In any entity other than a governmental entity, unless he has disclosed the benefit or interest in writing to the body of which he is a member or entity for which he is working. Disclosures are to be made annually. So I did send out conflict of interest disclosure statements. So any business that you have for banking, and then we'll have you read them, and then I will record them at the clerk's office, and that's all we need to do. I do have Treasurer Cowan's statement of interest here of disclosure. He banks at Commerce Bank of Wyoming and Wells Fargo Bank. And then we'll have you.
Do we need to approve these or just read them out loud?
No, you just have to read them out loud.
I'll go ahead and start. I bank at Commerce Bank of Wyoming, Trona Valley Federal Credit Union, High Federal Credit Union, which was formerly Sweetwater Credit Union, and Utah Power Credit Union. Commissioner Richards, we'll just go down the line.
I bank at RSNB Bank, PNC Bank, Commerce Bank, Wells Fargo, US Bank, Chase Bank.
Bank at US Bank, Commerce Bank of Wyoming, Full Circle Wealth Management, Uniwyo Credit Union, Robin Hood Investments, and Westgate Financial.
I, Mary Tolman, bank at Trona Valley Federal Credit Union, First Bank of Wyoming, Bank of the West, and have or may have accounts in Wells Fargo Bank and US Bank.
I, Robert D. Slaughter, currently have accounts with Bank of the West and Trona Valley Credit Union.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Cindy. Okay, next up, Commissioners, is tab D, the New York Life presentation. We are ahead of schedule, but Robert, are you good with that? All right, come on up, sir.
I had a really nice presentation, got it out this morning, put my thumb drive in. It was dead. It got wet in the winter. So you're gonna get me. Thank you, Commissioner, Chairman, for seeing me here the second time. So this is good. My name is Robbie Lee. I'm an agent registered rep with New York Life. I've been with New York Life for 22 years. Mostly the whole time here in Sweetwater County, grew up here in Sweetwater County, lived in Salt Lake, went to college on a little golf scholarship for a few years and at Idaho State, and came back here, moved my family here, and we've been here ever since. So what I have here and what the benefit is that New York Life would offer to the county is something a little bit different than what they have. Right now, you guys have your state retirement plans. You have, I believe, a 457 plan through the state. You do have some long-term disability, and you have a group term policy. What this is this is a life insurance policy that is a guaranteed issue whole life contract. The difference is inside of a whole life contract, the premium's locked, the death benefit increases, and it also builds a cash value that you could borrow on at some point in the future if there's enough cash in it. The product is 100% portable. So you can take it with you once you leave, if you retire from the county or if you leave the county. So you're not just putting money into something that stays with the county when you leave or you go find another job or you take off someplace else. I have inside this product, it is guaranteed. Kind of an example, we will write anybody. So it is, if you have cancer, you're a diabetic, you have high blood pressure, you take blood pressure medication, you smoke, you do anything, we'll underwrite you. We'll make sure that you have the insurance. The things that we do that are different than what you're going to get, what you currently have. Currently inside your retirement plans, I believe the state comes out a couple times a year, does some reviews for the employees on that. Unum and most of those are done online. So you just log into the account, you say, I want some more life insurance, I want to participate in the long-term disability, whatever the benefits are, you choose that. What we do, and I take a different approach to things, I'm not a cookie cutter. We're not going to say this thing fits every single person that's out there. What we do is we design a specific plan for each person of the county. We give them the opportunity to say yes. If they like it, if they would like to have it, outstanding, we'll just sign them up and get them taken care of. If they need something else, let's say that you have an employee that needs, let's say we have a young family. Let's say we have a husband, wife, couple kids, house, they need $1 million term life insurance policy. We can write that too and still have a payroll deducted out of their account here out of their paycheck. We build plans that are specific to each individual. It's not a cookie cutter. We say, this is what you're going to get, or this is what we believe you need. This is what you can afford. Make them very comfortable with the product so that they have it and they can continue to have that in the future. The things that you have to take into consideration, we're going to guaranteed issue first year. So we like to meet with everybody. If you guys decide that this is what you want to go forward with, we will meet with everybody. If you don't want it, we have you sign a waiver. So in the county, we'll get the waiver. It is just payroll deducted. So the payroll department has one thing. They just have to set up a line item, payroll deducted off of their paychecks. We handle all the back office stuff. If the employee moves, we take care of that. The employee needs a change of beneficiary, we take care of that in my office. I live in Green River. I office in Rock Springs. So I am a local agent here for Sweetwater County on this. Some information about New York Life, if we want to get into that a little bit. New York Life is a mutual company. What a mutual company means is you can't go buy New York Life on the stock market. You can't go out on the Dow and pick up New York Life stock. The only way to be a part of New York Life is to be a policy holder. So all of the decisions that New York Life makes as a board have to benefit the employee or have to benefit the policy holders of New York Life. So they have to do what's in the best interest. The product that we have here has a guaranteed cash value, has a guaranteed interest rate of 3% on the policy plus dividend. So we pay back a dividend to the employee. That's how the death benefit increases over the year. I have quite a few of these groups throughout Sweetwater County. They're very, very popular. The employees like them. We find that a lot of employees can't get insurance. They can't get the life insurance that they need, whether that's on build, whether it's on the medications they take, could be family history. There's a lot of factors that go into it. And we're not talking $1 million policies here. We're talking final expense. You know, you need that $25,000 policy to have when you're 85 years old and if you pass away, to take care of funeral costs, any last minute medical situations, and that stuff. So I open it up to any questions. I'm sure there are a few.
Yeah, thanks, Robbie. Appreciate you presenting for us today. If I understood it properly, it's no cost to the county. It's just simply maybe handling the payroll deductions.
Correct.
Aside from that, you guys handle it all from there.
Correct.
Any other questions, commissioners? Commissioner Tillman?
Yes, I do have one. Do the policy benefits decrease at a certain age?
No, they do not.
It stays the same if you
It
get
stays.
to 100 or whatever?
Correct. So it actually, they endow at 121, which means if you had a $25,000 policy at age 121, the insurance company will write you a check for $25,000 if that's the death benefit. Usually what we saw in the past where it endowed at 100, they send you a letter and said, would you really like to have this endowed or would you like to continue it on? And most people choose to continue it on. So yeah, the benefit doesn't, and actually the death benefit increases over the life of the policy. I do want to give one more example, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
We did write we wrote a group here. This is the strength of the company I represent. We did a group here in the county. I'm not going to tell you who it was, but we wrote the policy. Inside these policies we have an open window. So just like any other employee groups or anything, you say, here's my window. We ended up going in and writing a policy on a gentleman during that open enrollment window. And so for the dates, I wrote the policy on January 14th. The policy really doesn't go into effect until 45 days after the window after our open enrollment is. So we call that a little gray area. So New York Life will actually cover the insurance while we're getting everything processed and done. So I wrote the policy on the 14th of January. The gentleman passed away on February 4th. New York Life didn't question it. Actually, what they did is they took the first premium out because you have to have a bind. You have to have an offer and acceptance and a contract. We offered them a policy. They gave us a little bit of the death benefit to pay back. So then we paid out their death benefit to them without taking one premium from the client.
Wow.
So if you want to talk about strength, then they're going to do what's in the best interest and do what's right for the county or everybody here, the employees. I think this is the strength.
It's great strength. That's a sad story. Commissioner Slaughter.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Lee, so just for my clarification, so what you're basically asking us for at this point in time is for the county to approve New York Life as a provider for the county's employees. And once again, as the chairman stated, this in reading the documentation, it looks as if this would be a contract between the employees and New York Life. The county would just be approving that as part of our.
Yeah. So basically how the county's allowing us to payroll deduct it. So we are able to take all the employees of the county and offer this to those employees on a voluntary payroll deduction. So it isn't something it costs the county anything. The only thing it's going to cost the county is a little bit of time to input the premium in and then to make the premium payment every month. And that's all done electronic now. So it's fairly easy.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Shanefield.
Just a comment. I think this is similar to what the county already does with AFLAC, allowing that to be a deductible from payroll. And if the employee chooses not to utilize it, then that's on them. If they do, then they have that opportunity. So
Correct.
thank you, Robbie.
The only thing that we do is we do have a statement that says, I choose not to take it. So they can't come back on the county and say, well, I never had the option to take it. We actually have them sign it and you will get a copy of that too.
Thank you.
And I assume since this is, I don't know if this is a question for John maybe, or maybe some of you that have been on here, but the professional service, whereas you know, there's no implications as far as not putting it out to bid or something like that. I mean, we're not really paying for anything. It's just a service that Robbie's trying to offer the county, so. Is that how you guys all understand it? Okay. Any other questions, commissioners? If not, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Shanefield,
I will make a motion to move forward to allow New York Life through Robbie Lee to provide services to our county employees and allow for that payroll deduction as necessary. I hope that's an okay
it sounded good to me.
motion.
Second.
We got a
Chairman,
motion,
a second.
got a motion by Commissioner Shanefield, I believe a second by Commissioner Slaughter. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thanks, Robbie. Appreciate it. With that, commissioners, next up is tab E. We are about 30 minutes ahead of schedule. I do see some of the hospital representatives on the hallway. If you're okay with it, why don't we swap that with the break? Go into break now and let's call it 10 minutes, maybe come back at 9:30. And we'll ask if they're comfortable with presenting early. Take a 10-minute break. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Right. We're back in action, and next up on our agenda is tab E. We've got the Memorial Hospital, Sweetwater County, here to present to us today on SLIB projects update. I believe we've got Tiffany Marshall and Irene Richardson and some members of the board. Good morning, all. We're ahead of schedule, so if you're good, we'll keep on trucking along.
Thank you for meeting with us. I'm Irene Richardson. I'm the CEO at Memorial Hospital of Sweetwater County. And today I have with me Tiffany Marshall, and she is our Executive Director of the Foundation. And also Tammy Love, who is our Chief Financial Officer. We have Barbara Sawada, who is the President of our board, and Taylor Jones, who is Vice President, and Ed Tardoni, who is our Treasurer. And thank you all for meeting with us to tell you about our SLIB project update. As you know, in July of last year, we presented to the commission our two SLIB projects that we were wanting. They were matching SLIB projects, so we had to secure matching funds before we could apply for the grants. And one of the projects was our lab renovation and expansion. And the other project was the medical office building front entrance remodel. The lab expansion was $8.7 million and the medical office building remodel was $2.1 million. At that time, we came to the commission and respectfully asked if we could secure matching funds. And the commission at that time was very gracious and gave us $3 million of matching funds for the two grants. When we submitted our grants, we felt as though the commission wanted to support both grants. And so for the SLIB, for the medical office building, we applied $500,000, and for the lab expansion, we applied $2.5 million. And so as things progressed and as SLIB was meeting in December, at that time, Interim Secretary of State Allred came and visited us to see the tour of the two projects. We took him on a tour of the hospital and of the new projects that we were looking for. He was in support of the projects. He asked if there was a project that we would be willing to forego so that we could secure one project. And we told him, yes, we would be willing to forego the medical office building expansion to secure the lab expansion. And he was very supportive. He supported the project wholeheartedly. When the SLIB board met in December, on December 15th, they voted unanimously to approve our lab expansion project. In addition, the foundation also donated $1 million for the lab expansion project. So we felt really good about where we were with the lab expansion project. But we come to you today because of the $3 million, we only allocated $2.5 million to the lab expansion, and we allocated the other $500,000 to the medical office building expansion. And since that project wasn't, we didn't bring that one forward, we would respectfully ask if we could have the entire $3 million so that we could put that toward the lab expansion project. And we wanted to come to you in good faith and just request that from all of you. So that's why we're here today. But I would also like to turn it over to Tiffany so that she could show you the lab expansion, exactly what we're looking for, and so that you can see what the project looks like and a little bit of history on that. So Tiffany, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right.
All right, so this is going to be a little redundant for some of you, but we wanted to present what the project was because we know that we have some new commissioners. So we just wanted to make sure everybody's on the same page and you guys know exactly what we're trying to do. So just very quickly, brief background. So the funding that was available through SLIB, there was 85 million that was allocated to capital construction. Within that, it was broken up to 63 million broad eligibility fund, which we applied for, and then 22 million in the narrow eligibility fund. So within that, there were over $250 million that were requested with over 100 projects. So we were really excited that they picked one of our projects because it was very, very highly competitive. And then as Irene said, all funding was a 1-to-1 match as a requirement. So this is what the lab expansion looks like primarily. What we would be doing is expanding out about 5,000 square feet on the floor and then adding a second story to accommodate some offices and storage to help with the ever-growing needs of our hospital. And so why was it necessary? So when the pandemic hit, are you guys all tired of hearing about the pandemic? Because I know I am.
Yes.
I'm hoping this is the last time we ever talk about it. But when it hit, the hospital did everything that they could to make sure that our patients and our staff stayed safe. They followed all the recommendations from OSHA, CDC, Joint Commission, and everyone else who had an opinion. And so by doing that, we restricted entrance into the hospital. We closed the front doors. We monitored who came in. No guests were allowed because our laboratory was within the hospital and patients had to walk in to get there. We relocated the lab from being internally to an external area, our foundation office, so that our patients could still go there without having to enter the hospital. And that's kind of where it stayed ever since because we're still battling and coming out. The advantages of having that move was that it gave immediate access to the lab and its services for our patients without entering the hospital. So we didn't have that additional foot traffic in the hospital. It minimized, well, I just said minimized unnecessary foot traffic. It's easy for patients to find upon arrival. And in relation to the permanent lab waiting area, this temporary space, the waiting area in that area is a lot bigger. So we were able to accommodate our patient volume safely and they were able to distance. And then by having the lab over there, it gave us additional space in our permanent lab to expand the equipment that we've acquired to combat the pandemic. The barriers that we faced is having to staff multiple locations. It really put a strain on our staffing and on our operating expenses. We are paying currently in excess of $158,000 a year in additional staff salaries because we have to have people in both locations instead of having them in one. When we get everybody back in one, we'll be able to utilize those staff for multiple purposes now that they're in one place, whereas we can't do that right now. Our patient registration area over there is not the most private area, and we really would like to address that. The restrooms over there are not accommodating of bariatric wheelchairs, which is pretty problematic when we have a patient that has to provide a urine sample, but they're in one of those wider wheelchairs, or if we have a patient that just simply needs to use the restroom. The plumbing is insufficient for being a patient care area, just the usage and the frequency that we use it. It's pretty hard on it. Our HVAC hasn't been upgraded to be to clean the air as well because it wasn't a patient area before. The specimen transportation is really one of our biggest things, especially in these winter months. So when we have our patients and we collect their testing, our staff then has to walk outside in front of the hospital, walk around through the main entrance. So it causes a pretty big concern for slip and falls when it's snowing and the weather's bad, if it's raining. It also increases the probability of a false positive or specimen damage from the weather, the changing in temperatures and things like that. So, and then the foundation legal, we've been at home since March of 2020 working, and we really want to come back as well. So we'd love to have that space. So the way it's broken down, this is the expanded area. So the green area would be the new patient outpatient area, and then the blue is that second floor. And so that's kind of hard to see all the details, but that's about how the flow would be. If you look on this next slide, that yellow part is actually the expansion. So on the left side of the yellow, that's the current laboratory. So what we're doing is we're building on and then out. And the next slide is the budget, because $8.7 million is a crazy amount of money, and we want to be very transparent on how we got that. So Plan One Architects has broken down every single cent of where that dollar figure comes from. And I know it's not the easiest to see, and I'm happy to send these slides to you again after the meeting if you'd like that breakdown. So in a nutshell, that's our lab expansion project. We could probably talk about it all day, but we want to be very respectful and not continue to do that. So we will answer any questions you have.
Thanks, Irene. Thanks, Tiffany. I
Yeah.
couldn't really see that, but I was curious on the breakdown. I know the county had, well, roughly 2.5 million.
Yep.
And the foundation has 1 million. You're saying the project is 8.7. What are the other funding sources? What's the grant? Is the
So
hospital
the-
matching a portion of
Yeah,
that as well?
Yep. So the grant is for 4.35. The foundation committed 1 million. We allocated from the 3 million matching that the county had committed 2.5 million to that project, and then the hospital was going to cover the rest.
Okay.
Yep.
So that leaves around 1 million or so, give or take,
Yep.
for the hospital to cover.
Mhm.
Questions, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner
Yeah,
Slaughter.
Ms. Marshall, if I understood correctly, what you're asking is that we still maintain the $3 million match, even though 2.5 was what was originally allocated for the lab project.
Yeah, so when we first came to the commission, we presented the two projects, and I believe it was Commissioner Wendling motioned to support both projects in a total of 3 million. So nothing was ever broken down, or at first we originally allocated all 3 million to the lab because that's our main project. The medical office building project is important and we really would like to get that done, but that's our second priority as we're facing the pandemic and trying to get through it and really what's best for our community. And so we originally did that, but because the motion was to support both projects, we didn't feel comfortable properly saying we're allocating all of this to the lab. So we broke it up just on a sliding percentage of the lab being a lot more expensive. So we allocated the bulk of it there, but we wanted to show the support in both projects. So that's how we got to those numbers. Mhm,
Thank you.
of course.
Other questions, commissioners?
Bless you.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Richards?
So is there a timeline for pursuing the medical office building expansion in the future?
It's definitely on the list of things that we would like to do. I don't think at this point we actually have a timeline. But it's on our to-do list here in the future, yes.
I guess my question is if we take this 500,000 and switch it over to the lab, when you pursue the medical office building, are you going to come back and ask for another 500,000 for matching for the medical office building?
I would say no. I would say that, well, and this was a matching grant, so we had to secure some matching funds. That would probably be a project that we would do under our regular maintenance, and the county does support us with maintenance. So.
I don't in the foreseeable future plan on coming back asking for more money. I'll tell you that.
Repeat that one more time?
Yeah. Louder, yeah.
I don't foresee in the foreseeable future coming back asking for any money.
Mr. Chairman, one last question. So I assume if we agree to keep this $500,000 and dedicate it to the lab, that would come out of the hospital's side of the matching grants. Okay. Thank you.
First off, I appreciate you bringing this to our attention and being forthcoming on the different matching opportunities and the fact that, you did a lot, 2.5 for this project and 500,000 for the other. I think that transparency is key, and I appreciate the email of allowing us newbies and bringing us up to speed as to what's going on. I can go both ways on this. I feel like if we hang on to it, you'll probably just come back and ask for it for the lab. And so a part of me says, what's the difference? And so I guess what's most important now or later in your guys' eyes? I mean, obviously the lab is the priority, but
I think it's important now for us to complete this project. I think that thank you, Tiffany. I think there may be other opportunities for medical office building. Again, that is something that we'd like to do, but that's not the most important and most pending thing right now. So this would really assist us in being able to get this project finalized and finished, and then see if we can secure other funding or use our cash reserves for the medical office building. But this $3 million would allow us to be able to complete this project and like I said, meet the needs of the community best. This project would meet the needs of the community best. And again, in the future, as far as the medical office building renovation, there may be other ways we can look at that. Maybe look at a project that's a little less expensive, maybe look at something different. But again, use other funding for that. So that would be what would be best for us, is if we could have the entire $3 million now.
So if we didn't give the full 3 million, would you guys be looking at dipping into reserves to cover that remaining amount?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Questions, commissioners?
Yes.
Commissioner Tillman?
I have one on the design. Would the public access through the new addition or through the main hospital?
Through the new addition.
Through the new addition?
What it
So,
would be,
and then why does the second story have the cutout? Is it a,
so that's what we're looking at. Okay, so if you, no, go back. So this is what the, I guess it's not up there. Okay, so what the second building would be, or what this new addition would be, is that there would be a drive up so that people could
Oh, yeah,
actually
okay.
get dropped off if they needed to, but there's that exterior entrance. So everybody would still be able to access the lab. Really the way we're trying to break it down is somewhat mirror what we have set up in the foundation lab right now, because the flow works pretty well. It just operationally doesn't work for our expenses in our back end and the safety. So it does still have that external entrance. And so then fingers crossed that we never deal with anything like this ever again in any of our lifetimes. But if we do have another airborne pandemic at some point, we're already set up to face that, because we'll have that drive through. So we already have a new built-in testing. And it eliminates all the barriers that we have seen with this lovely COVID-19.
Mr. Chairman. Oh,
Commissioner Slaughter?
well, what was the cutout? The upper
The
story?
cutouts for the second story. So what we're gonna do there is have office space and storage there. So that's
But
what
it
that
seemed
blue
like it was
is.
smaller than the bottom.
Yep, it's smaller because it has they can't put the building over the
Oh. Okay.
awning part. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Yep. So it's about 2,500 square feet upstairs and about 5,000 square feet downstairs. And then not related to this project, but kind of. So after we submitted this SLIP funding, there was also another minor capital construction grant opportunity that I applied for to renovate the foundation area to address the issues that we're facing, the bathroom, the plumbing, and all of that. And we were actually awarded that funding for almost $500,000. I believe it's $496,990. Took a minute. Close. But that's actually, we'll be able to go in and fix our plumbing and update that other area as well. And so we'll be able to address the issues that we have there from a separate funding source. And we're able to do that because we received the SLIP funding. So then we'll be able to add another, hopefully patient space to expand our services. So we've kind of had a domino effect of receiving an additional funding to address the issues that we have, which is part of why we want the SLIP, the lab expansion. So it's been a very big circle that's finally coming to close, and it's going to be great for our community.
So does that additional funding, that's part of this project then? No. Okay. Yeah,
It's a project we're able to do because we received the
Okay.
SLIP funding.
Commissioner Tillman, do you have any more? Commissioner Slaughter?
Mr. Chairman, one more quick question. You said if we were not to provide the additional $500,000, excuse me, that you would be taking that money from your reserves. What are the current hospital reserves?
That's why we brought.
That's why Tammy's here. And as part of that, I'm sure Tammy can answer this too, but just, I'd like to know what the annual budget for the hospital is in addition to that.
Now I have to think about my balance sheet. I think so we have about 14 million in investments right now. But then we have what we consider kind of our building fund is about 3.5 million right now.
So
That's where that would come out of that 3.5 million.
the 14 million that you have in investments, you consider basically a permanent reserve.
Yeah, yes,
So, okay.
that's kind of like our days cash.
And what was the other number? I'm sorry.
It's about 3.5 million, I believe. We were just able to move some back into there after we've kind of started to come back from the pandemic a little bit, so we've been able to move it, but that's where this would come from.
And the total budget for the hospital for the year.
Our total like expense budget?
The total overall budget. 150 million, something like that. I think.
Let's see, our revenue.
It's probably about
230 million.
That's gross. Yeah.
That's gross.
That-
revenue.
Yeah.
That's okay.
You're probably pretty close.
Extremely significant, and I've got a relatively decent idea of what it was from.
We do have to maintain some of that cash for these.
Certainly, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Did you guys receive ARPA funding, or would any of that ARPA funding be applicable to something like this? Obviously, since it's related to the pandemic and everything.
We can't use ARPA funding for matching funds because this grant is ARPA funding from the state.
Right.
So we can't use ARPA to match ARPA.
Makes sense.
But yes, we did receive it.
So you can't have a double ARPA.
Right. But yes,
Not worth a shot.
we did receive,
We looked into
yeah,
it.
we did receive ARPA funds and it has all been used for our expenses from the pandemic.
And audited.
Okay. Any other questions, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richardson?
maybe a question for our veteran commissioners. I'm assuming we've budgeted that $3 million when it was.
Mr. Chairman, I believe we did. I don't remember though. I would have to go back. Mary, do you remember?
I'm pretty sure we did. Christina probably knows though.
If that's the case, then I would lean toward allowing them to keep that $500,000. Because if we don't, they're just going to come back and ask for it again. And if it's budgeted already, it's going into the hospital, which is probably one of our most important assets in this county. So I would lean towards that. I don't know if a motion is even necessary because we allocated $3 million and I don't think we specified other than it would be used for matching grants.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Shanefield?
I would concur with Commissioner Richards. I believe that whether or not it would have been laid out in front of us, that, the intent was to allow for the full $3 million, knowing that they were going to have to go in front of the slip board and knowing that there probably were not going to be 2 projects approved for the county, and also the impact that this lab expansion will have on our community, and the impact that the hospital has on our community, and how blessed we are to have what we have, and continuing to improve that facility, I think is imperative to our quality of life and the essentials that we have here in Sweetwater County, which impacts everything from economic development to just, everybody that's currently living here and working here. So that I agree with allowing them to keep the full $3 million.
Thanks, Commissioner. I'll go next, I guess. We're going to go down the line. I can get on board with that. It already has been budgeted for, is my understanding of it. But I would put a caveat in there that we're going to support this one, but the lab's on you. Or the medical office building, excuse me. So. Commissioner Tolman, anything further?
I concur.
Mr. Chairman, I too concur in researching the budget. I think prior to taking office, I believe that it certainly was in the budget. I believe that was the intent of the prior commission. And I do believe, as Commissioner Richards stated, that the hospital is certainly one of our prized assets here in the county, and that we certainly need to be a cooperating partner with the hospital. So I would do the same thing.
Would it be cleaner if we took action, John? Although it's already been approved, it was kind of for both projects. Now we're talking one project. Does it matter if we all concur?
I think it's at your discretion, Mr. Chairman. Certainly doesn't hurt to, it sounds like there appears to be full agreement. So I don't know that there was a distinction made at the time. That would be the only, I guess, clarity added by taking a motion is that you approve the full amount for this particular project.
Very good. Thank you. Commissioners, for clarification, I would entertain a motion to allow the hospital to utilize the full $3 million that was budgeted for their lab renovation project.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make that motion as stated.
Got a motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shanefield. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Good luck. We'll look forward to seeing it.
Do you want me to send you the slide deck or do you want me to send you the SLIB application that has all the info?
Yeah, just the slide deck could be good, I think.
Absolutely. I will do that.
I just want to thank you all.
Thank you.
You know, this is like in the spirit of the Academy Awards. No, I'm kidding. I won't give a long speech. But thank you so much for supporting the hospital. And we're just here to do what is best for the community, and we appreciate the support from the commissioners. We're very grateful. Thank you.
Thanks, Irene. Appreciate it. Thanks to your board for being here too.
Tiffany. Thank you.
Next up on the agenda, commissioners, would be tab F, which is the wildlife killing contests targeting Wyoming's native wildlife and a game for cash and prizes. The presenter is Madhu Anderson. I do not see her here this time. We are about 30 minutes ahead of schedule. We can continue on and revert back to her, or we can take a break. Any? Okay. Commissioner Shanefield needs to step out for momentarily. I guess we'll just move forward, and if Madhu shows up, we'll revert back to that order. But Gary, if you're ready, we'll move forward to tab G. Request approval of the 2023 HCC life insurance stop loss application. Morning, Gary.
Good morning. I have to say, this commission has dressed up the place. Everybody looks great. The issue before us today is approval of a piece. As you know, we have many pieces that make up our health insurance program. This is the stop loss portion, contract for the stop loss portion. So just to be clear for everybody, the stop loss is we self-insure and pay the claims up to 200,000. Above that, we pay for essentially reinsurance to cover costs that exceed that. And well, that sounds like a lot in this day and age, and especially in healthcare. 200,000 is not very much money. Several years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, we had a kind of a tough year where we had a lot of very large claims. By very large claims, you know, $1.5 million, 900,000, so on and so forth. When you have a couple of years like that, or several years, obtaining favorable stop loss pricing is difficult. And in part because when there's known claims, so if you think of cancer or MS, those are known claims. So they know that going forth, they're going to have high exposure, mostly due to medicine right now. It's not uncommon for us to have over 400,000, 500,000 just in medicine and pharmacy for some of those diseases. So what happens is the stop loss providers want to laser those claims and set a limit above 200,000 that we're exposed to, maybe 280, 300, 400, which means then on those claims, we take that extra $200,000 on as our risk and then insure beyond that. So obviously that creates a significant amount of risk for the county, because you don't know how many people are going to end up being in that particular situation. So what we did is we joined essentially a stop loss group, and part of that program is to reduce or limit the amount of laser claims that you have. So we've got down to right now to one laser claim. And so this application is essentially that there is still a fairly significant increase in 14% in this, but just which equates to roughly $86,000. But if you think about one lasered claim from 200 to 280 or 300 or 400, that's significantly less than that. And so essentially I'm requesting the board to approve this presentation. Was done back in September. As you know, our renewal is January to January. We've done it both ways to coincide with the budget, but it seems to cause more problems renewing in July because it doesn't follow the tax years. So in September, this sort of program was put in front of the board and was approved for the renewal, which occurred in January. This is the contract actually implementing that at that time. And I'd be happy to entertain any questions if there's anything I've left out or the board has questions on.
Questions, commissioners?
Yeah, explain that laser a little bit more.
Yeah, so let's say an employee has MS and they're on an MS drug. I use that because that's one of the most expensive drugs right now. And that drug is $400,000 a year, which is close to what some of them are, just the pharmacy part. So when you go to stop loss renewal, they know that you had $400,000. You can have $400,000 this year, 400. There's no risk there. They know you're going to have that claim. So they want to laser that at that known amount because it's not like it might happen. You know it's going to happen. And so they might laser that at 380 or 350 or 300, which means that we pay that. So it's not 200 that we're paying in their insurance. We're paying $400,000 or 380 for that claim because they're not insuring risk. It's a known quantity. And so those, we had 6 at one time at different levels. We're now, like I said, down to 1. And as soon as those are done, we won't have lasered claims under this program. So that's one of the real advantages to that in terms of controlling costs. The other problem that you have is when you have a lot of high dollar claims, obviously you don't have much leverage in the marketplace. That's not a favorable circumstance to go get bids on stop loss providers. So this is the arrangement that was implemented to control both the risk as well as the cost for our stop loss insurance. Now, again, I don't want to make too much of this. 80,000 is expensive, but out of the total program of 9 million is not driving the cost. Stop loss is not driving the cost. The costs are driven by medical claims and really are driven by these high dollar claims. You have like maybe 10 claims that make up 80% of your total spend. That's really what you're trying to manage is both the risk and the cost with stop loss insurance. Does that help you?
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion of approval for the 2023 HCC life insurance stop loss application and allow the chairman to sign.
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
A motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
I would second that.
Second by Commissioner Toman. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. We do have Lauren who has stepped out, so that passes unanimously 4-0. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
Still do not see Madhu Anderson as far as tab F goes, so it looks like the sheriff has joined us. And next on the agenda would be tab H, the pre-employment contract with the Sweetwater County Sheriff's Office. Good morning, Sheriff.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
It looks like this is just updating signatures, the pre-employment contract for new sworn personnel. Needs signatures from the new Board of County Commissioners. Nothing changed as far as the contract goes, since previously approved. So unless the commission has any questions, I would entertain a motion to approve the pre-employment contract with Sweetwater County Sheriff's Office to update signatures.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we accept the contract for the pre-employment for the Sweetwater County Sheriff's Department.
Got a motion by Commissioner Slaughter.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richards. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Next up on tab I is a request to replace a vacant position in the detention center. Is there any questions on that for the sheriff? Commissioners?
I have a question for the chairman. We're not going to do those on the consent agenda, or what, did you feel it was too much of a difference to allow it to go on the consent?
Well, that's a back and forth. Last meeting, we had a couple on there with some questions, so I instructed Sally to remove them for the time being. If you prefer them to be under the consent agenda, that's fine. I just kind of got the vibe that with some of us being new, if there's going to be questions on some of these, if there's a greater step increase, it's a lot easier to do that outside of the consent agenda. So that was my decision to remove them from the consent.
My concern is that we take up the sheriff's time to come here every time he has to have a replacement. So I think.
Flip side of that is he wasn't here at the last one and there was questions and he felt like he would have liked to address those. So.
Okay.
And I don't have a problem, Mr. Chairman, coming if there's questions.
Mr. Chairman, if I could too, I had asked to have those items pulled from the agenda, consent agenda last meeting. Reason being, and it's very similar to what this request is. In the packet, it shows that there's a potential increase to the budget of $24,000. I brought that forward in that meeting so that we could have, as a commission, a better understanding of what that truly means. And basically what you're seeing there is an increase in the benefits, which is a potential increase depending upon what whether it's a family or a single person who is being insured under our contract with the sheriff's department. So I felt like it was important that we have that information because there was a potential increase to our budget. I've talked with the sheriff in these situations in the future. I think if there is a specific issue, I would like to talk with the sheriff and have him be here. But I believe in most cases, this would be one of those types of issues that we could handle under a consent agenda.
Fair enough. Any other questions, commissioners? If not, what is your pleasure on the request to replace the vacant position in the detention center, which will also require the chair to sign if you so approve?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Slaughter.
I would move to approve the request to replace the vacant position in the detention center and for the chairman to sign.
Got a motion by Commissioner Slaughter. Do we have a second?
Mr.
Second.
Chairman,
Second by Commissioner Richards. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr.
Sheriff.
Chairman, Commissioners.
Still no Madhu, so we'll move forward with tab J. This is a request to replace vacant position in the facilities maintenance custodial department. Same thing here. We do have Gene and Gary, if there are any questions.
Mr. Chairman, I believe this falls under the same thing as what we had when I pulled the item from the last agenda. I feel the same way with respect to this. Once again, we're seeing a potential increase. It may or may not happen. So I believe it would be appropriate in the future for an item similar to this to be on the consent agenda. If there is something outside of the norm with respect to this, then we could have it pulled.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the request to replace vacant position in the facilities maintenance custodial department and allow the chairman to sign all necessary documentation.
Mr. Chairman, I would make that motion.
Got a motion by Commissioner Toman. Do we have a second?
Mr. Chairman, I second that.
Second by Commissioner Richards. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are about an hour ahead. You guys just want to continue marching forward here? You want to break? Any thoughts?
March forward.
That's how I like it. Moving forward with tab K, does look like Gene's here, so this will fall right in line. We have the Cooperative Forest Road Agreement between Sweetwater County and the USDA Forest Service and Ashley National Forest. Good morning, Gene.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What you have before you is a 5-year cooperative forest agreement with USDA, Ashley National Forest and us. This has to be signed every 5 years, and then every year we meet in February, March, and do an interim agreement on exactly what we're going to do. Sometimes they want to have us haul road and mill tailings, or they're going to grind a road or do something like that. And then that's how we do the 1-year agreements. But this is for all the roads around basically Flaming Gorge, to keep them updated per our plan with Ashley.
Great. Very good. Any questions for Gene, commissioners? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the Cooperative Forest Road Agreement between Sweetwater County, USDA Forest Service, and Ashley National Forest, and allow the chairman to sign all necessary documentation.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
I'd make that motion as presented.
Got a motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Slaughter. Any further discussion?
I do have a question.
Commissioner Tillman.
We don't receive any money from Ashley for doing that though, do we?
But it does help with travel and tourism and stuff like that. And the other thing that's really important is County Road 33, Flaming Gorge Road, that goes around the boat dock and over Hill and Dale all the way down the Glades. Simplot and those guys, when 191 is closed, they do use that quite a bit to get down their facilities. So that's an important road.
Any other questions? Do you have a motion and a second on the table? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thanks, Gene. Still up on tab L, we do have the City of Green River minor subdivision application for the courthouse subdivision.
What this is, in short, is the courthouse and the Carnegie Library all sat on about 10 different lots back when it was first done. There was actually an alley that ran right through the middle of the courthouse. So what we're trying to do with the City of Green River is clean this up, make 2 lots out of it. One where the courthouse actually sits, one where the Carnegie Library actually sits. It's more of a cleanup than anything.
Very good. Any questions on that, commissioners? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the City of Green River minor subdivision application for the courthouse subdivision and allow the chairman to sign all necessary documentation.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
I'd move to approve as presented.
Got a motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
I will second that.
Second by Commissioner Tillman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay.
Thank you.
Motion carries unanimous. Thanks, Gene. Still about an hour ahead. I do not see Madhu. I don't, is she? Good morning. Commissioners, let's go ahead and revert back to tab F, which is the wildlife killing contests targeting Wyoming's native wildlife in a game for cash and prizes. We do have Madhu Anderson here this morning, and the floor is yours, Madhu. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and County Commissioners.
Will you lower that mic down, Madhu?
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah. Hello, can you hear me better now?
Might have to speak up a little bit. They're having a hard time hearing you.
Okay, is this
There you
better?
go.
Yeah.
That's better.
Can you help me, please? I'm not sure why it's not starting the.
It's up.
Oh, okay,
I just might have to hit the,
thing.
Yeah.
Go to the next one. It does go to the next one here. It's not going to the next one there.
all right, let me get.
Okay. It's not just going to the next slide.
Those that may be watching, we're having a little technical difficulties here.
Did you do start?
How did you open it?
It's
I've got IT summons. I've got IT summons.
sorry, I'm not sure what's going on here. Like, it's not changing the slides there. So. Oh, it's looks like it's changing now, but. Okay. First, good morning, Mr. Chairman and the county commissioners. Thank you for giving me a chance to address you today. My name is Madhu Anderson, and I'm here on behalf of Wyoming Wildlife Protection Group. We are a group of Wyoming residents who work to end the wildlife killing contest in our state. First, I want to clearly define what I'll be speaking about today. Wildlife killing contests are organized events in which participants compete for cash and prizes for killing the most, the heaviest, or even the smallest animal in a given specific time. Oh, just this one. Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm not talking about regulated hunting or killing of coyotes in cases of livestock predation. I'm only addressing killing contests in which cash and prizes are offered for the cruel, wasteful killing of our wildlife. One such event called Coyote Killing Contest is being organized by a group called Wyoming Best of the Best. That is scheduled for the 25th of February at Buddha Bob's Bar at the Sands in Rock Springs. In this contest, participants will compete to kill the most coyotes from sunrise to sunset. They will bring the dead bodies of the coyotes to the bar in the evening for weighing and counting to receive prizes. As you can see in the photos, our group held a peaceful demonstration about the contest last year outside the Buddha Bob's Bar, where this contest was being hosted. We were harassed and threatened, and some people opposed to our demonstration placed a dead coyote next to us. This kind of hateful behavior towards peaceful demonstrators was traumatizing. There are two main reasons why wildlife killing contests should be not allowed in our community and our state. The first is because they are cruel and unethical. Participants often use high-tech equipments such as electronic calling devices that play the sounds of a prey or even a young animal in distress to lure the target animal in for a kill. Killing contests also teach our younger generation that killing for fun and some cash is okay. As the hunter, biologist, and former Montana State Senator Mike Phillips asked, are these contests indicative of the values we want to be emulating for our kids? As someone who cares about the future of Wyoming's children, I agree with Mr. Phillips. Many wildlife professionals also agree, stating that killing contests violate the fundamental hunting ethic of fair chase, give our hunting community a bad name, and even threaten the future of hunting. Here are a few examples of this from Arizona, Vermont, Colorado, and Washington state. The second reason why killing contests don't belong in our community is that they are ineffective, counterproductive, and are not based on sound wildlife management principles. The mass killing of coyotes is a temporary fix that eventually leads to more breeding and migration due to a sudden drop in competition for resources. When one or both the members of an alpha breeding pair of a coyote pack are killed, lone coyotes move in to mate, young coyotes start having offspring sooner, and the litter sizes grow. Then, without appropriate hunting guidance and family structure, these less experienced young coyotes may attempt to target easy prey like livestock or pets. And claims about coyote predation on livestock are vastly exaggerated. According to the USDA, all carnivores combined, including coyotes, unknown predators, and dogs, accounted for less than 0.4% of US cattle and sheep losses. The actual primary source of mortality of livestock are diseases, illness, birthing problems, and weather. Now, of course, the loss of any animal for a livestock farmer is the hardship. But good husbandry practices and strategic non-lethal predator management methods are the best way to reduce conflicts with coyotes and livestock, not randomly killing coyotes in a contest for cash and prizes. Wildlife professionals and hunting groups also remind us that killing native carnivores like coyotes will not boost population of game species because their populations are more influenced by access to good habitats. Here are some quotes. I'm also glad to provide a list of peer-reviewed scientific research on this topic and the sources for each of these quotes following my presentation. To date, 8 states have banned killing contests, including Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, California, Washington State, Massachusetts, Vermont, and Maryland. And just last month, the Oregon Fish and Wildlife Commission directed the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife to draft its own rule to ban killing contests in that state. As you can see, the black dots on this map, many local governments across the US have also passed non-binding resolutions condemning killing contests and called for a statewide ban. Even the Minnesota chapter of the hunting group, Isaac Walton League of America, has passed a resolution. So that's why I come before you today to respectfully ask you to support and sign a similar resolution condemning wildlife killing contests in Sweetwater County. I have provided you with a draft of the resolution along with an introductory letter and fact sheet. Thank you for your time and attention. I will stand for any questions you may have.
Thanks, Madhu. Any questions, commissioners? None at all.
Mr. Chairman, did you want to give public time to respond, or do you
Yeah,
want me
just,
to?
if we had questions
act
for
on it?
Madhu, I was gonna allow those. If not, then thanks for your time, Madhu. And is there anyone else? I know we had public comments earlier. A few of you spoke to that. It looks like we've had a few show up since then. Just by raising hands, is there anyone that would like to speak to this issue that hasn't already spoke to it? Come on up, sir. We'll give you, if you're the only one, we'll watch you some time to speak to any of these issues. We heard this morning from 3 that were in opposition to Ms. Anderson's movement here. So please introduce yourself.
My name's Eric McDaniel. I'm an active sportsman, and I'd like to comment on this. So
you raise up that microphone, sir? They're not able to hear you. on that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Eric McDaniel.
Yeah, Eric McDaniel, active sportsman. I'd just like to voice my opinion on the coyote matter. I'm strongly opposed to shutting down coyote hunting. I know some people on the county, Sweetwater County, Predator Board, and they feel that these contests significantly help control the coyote population that so harshly devastate the ranchers' way of life and our game and animals, elk, deer, and antelope, especially with these snow levels at such high levels this year. The coyotes are able to run alongside deer, antelope, and kill them with ease. The game animals fall through the snow and the predators are able to attack them. Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties with my phone here. I apologize. But anyhow, we feel that the contests allow to help reduce the numbers of the coyotes taken and to help with the wildlife and our livestock that the farm and ranchers are raising out there. And we would like to continue with that. So that's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it. Just to make sure, was there anyone else that would like to speak to this issue that didn't speak this morning during public comment?
Morning. My name is Kenny Wolf. I would like to speak on behalf of the sports people of Wyoming. We're very proud of our state. We're very proud of our hunting and fishing and trapping heritages here in Wyoming. And things like this could affect that tremendously. Some of these folks need to get some education on and maybe possibly work with groups like the Wyoming Game and Fish, where they've got individuals that spent basically their lifetime studying things like this. Now, I've worked with a lot of local ranchers, and I can share a story with you. A good friend of mine lives out south, had gotten cancer and has now passed away. Myself and several other individuals went down and tried to protect his ranch when he was sick with cancer. I can tell you some of these predators went in and killed quite a lot of his livestock and wiped out his animals that were there to protect his ranch, as in dogs and cats. We had individuals that followed us, stalked us, tracked us on private property and smashed our personal equipment and left nasty letters in our Wyoming landscape. Now, I've spent the last year working on a petition that's went across the state in 100 different locations, thousands of signatures. That document is in Cheyenne with John Kennedy and Brian Newsvik right now. There's been laws passed to help protect us sportsmen. Many of us, it's a passion. It's what we do here. And it's things that we want our younger generation to take part in, so they too can help grandpa and grandma and these people out there to protect their land, their property, and not be like some of these communities that you see on the news every day, raising Cain in town. I would hope that we could show folks out there we're different here and we're going to protect our heritages. Now, this last fall, I was called out by the Sweetwater County Events Complex. There's badger problem out there. The new pavilion that we just put $1 million in, if you go out and look at the trees and the landscape around it, it's been destroyed. The badgers has went in there, not to mention how many cats and local animals they've killed. They've destroyed our sprinkler system there. After your meeting today, go out and look at the pavilion in the area. You'll see what I'm saying. I've got pictures, but you can go look for yourself. Predator control is very important here. Now, you folks signed the bills for predator control you know very well what it cost. And by these folks going out and helping control our predators is an asset to all of us and every taxpayer in Wyoming. Thank you for your time. Does anyone have a question?
Questions, commissioners?
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Is there anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, we have somebody that's trying to get on Zoom, and I think Sally was gonna send him the link. She just sent it. So.
I'll just give my opinion of it. I've had several conversations with many of those that have presented this morning. I had a conversation with Madhu as well. I just feel like, this is Wyoming. I am an avid outdoorsman and I support the great outdoors and hunting and everything that comes along with it. As we heard in some of the comments this morning, it's what's next. And for now it's coyote killing contests, but you have the burbot bash, and Game and Fish disallows, the release of burbot back into the Flaming Gorge. So is that inhumane in that aspect as well as an invasive species? Coyotes are predators. We heard a lot from the different groups this morning with, the livestock industry and predator control boards and various other, concerns that were brought forward. And this is just the first step towards, ultimately trying to take away what feels like a lot of the hunting rights for the state of Wyoming. And I personally do not support it and don't think that we should have a say in banning any contests such as this, like it's being proposed. So I don't know if anyone has anything else. Looks like Mike Davidson has joined the call. Mike, do you have any comments you'd like to share on the wildlife killing contests subject? The floor is yours. Mike Davidson, you're on mute.
Mike Davison is one of our appointees to the Predator Board for Sweetwater County.
There you go. Go ahead, Mike. Can you hear us, Mike? Don't know. We can see him, but I don't know that he can see us. Okay, well,
I'll text him.
while we wait for that technical difficulty, do any other commissioners have any comments, feedback for
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Richards?
First, I want to start by addressing ethics in hunting. Ethics in hunting is usually, in my experience, a personal issue and generally shouldn't be dictated by the government. The great thing about such a dilemma is that if you are ethically opposed to hunting of any kind, you don't have to participate in it. I've heard from numerous constituents on this, and I can confidently say that there's very little support for a resolution like this in Sweetwater County. And most of the people I've talked to see this as an incremental step towards ever more restrictive regulations on hunting, with an all-out ban being the end game. I suspect they're correct. While your presentation may focus on predators, as I read the proposed resolution, it doesn't just ask for a ban on predator hunting competitions. It actually calls for a ban on any competition that involves the taking of any wildlife. That means big buck, big bull competitions, as well as fishing competitions, further enforcing my suspicion about the real end game. While I commend your passion and your willingness to fight for what you believe in, Ms. Anderson, I don't think this is a resolution that Sweetwater County should adopt. And I actually believe that we should take the additional step of voting it down. So just so we are clear about it, Mr. Chairman, what I'm going to do is move this proposed resolution simply so I have the opportunity to vote against it.
Very good. Thanks, Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Shanefield.
I echo much of what Commissioner Richards just stated in that I believe that we as Wyomingites are very proud of being able to have the ethics that we have and choose to have those ethics and hold ourselves to the standard that we hold ourselves to. I don't believe that we need any government entity telling us how we should or who we should, not who, but what animals we should be hunting. And I also believe that, you know, when we look at our endangered species, our ranchers, all of those areas that are struggling right now that we're trying to support and protect, these contests per se, and hunting of predatory animals is something that we take, you know, very seriously. And that if there was an overboard or something that we were not managing properly, we would take it upon ourselves as Wyomingites to ensure that we were not doing it in a damaging way across the board. So I agree with Commissioner Richards moving a motion forward so that we can move forward with this. Thank you.
Will that be a second? Commissioner Shanefield?
Yes.
Was that actually, did you move?
Yes.
So we do have a motion to move forward with the resolution prepared by the Wyoming Wildlife Protection Group. And we do have a second by Commissioner Shanefield. Further discussion, commissioners,
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Tillman.
Well, I would just comment that if you truly cared about wildlife, you wouldn't be bringing this resolution forward. I saw antelope and deer yesterday in snow up to their bellies, and they're not going, a lot of them are not going to survive the winter. And as a ranching family, I've seen the thousands of lambs that have been slaughtered. So if you truly cared about animals, you have to look at the balance of nature and how things are working together. It's not, you can't just support or defend one species without considering the ramifications to all the others. So that's all I would have to say.
Thanks, Commissioner Tillman.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Anderson, I fully support your right to peaceably assemble, and I appreciate the fact that you're willing to do that. I appreciate the fact that you're willing to bring something like this and you have passion to do that. But I too am a wildlife enthusiast. I have been a hunter my entire life. I believe that those of us who live in Wyoming for just that reason. We live in Wyoming for the opportunity to enjoy our wildlife in many different ways. And some of that may be contrary to what others believe. But as Commissioner Richards stated, I believe there is an ethics which belongs to each sportsman to decide what they should do with respect to that. We've had lots of testimony with respect to this issue. I've had several calls myself personally with respect to this issue. And I too believe that we should deny this resolution simply because, once again, it would be contrary to what our constituents have asked us as elected officials to do moving forward.
Thanks, Commissioner. Doesn't look like Mr. Davidson's up there. So with that, just to be clear, we do have a motion and a second on the table to approve the resolution that was brought forth by the Wyoming Wildlife Protection Group, which would enforce a ban on killing contests. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we're going to roll call vote this one. We'll start down with Commissioner Richards.
No.
Commissioner Shanefield.
No.
Commissioner West is no. Commissioner Tillman.
No.
Commissioner Slaughter.
No.
That is 5-0 in opposition of enforcement of a ban. Thank you for your time and being here, Madhu, and everyone else that took the time out of your day to come speak your piece to the matter. We appreciate the public feedback and engagement and for reaching out on an important topic. Thank you all. With that, that completes tab F. And why don't we do, we're still way ahead of schedule. We left off at tab M. So why don't we take, it's called a 10-minute break. We'll resume back. Well, let's just go till 11. Let's resume at 11 o'clock. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Where we left off on the agenda was tab M, which is the facility signage compliance with the Second Amendment. Commissioners, I think the intent of this is quite simplistic in reality. It's obviously a hot topic in regards to media, and basically where this came about is the entrances to this facility used to be the entrances to district court and the courtrooms. And so there are laws prohibiting firearms and the like to enter into the courtrooms. Now the district court has its own entrance. Essentially, some feel as though those signs are no longer needed. And so it seems consistent to follow along with removing them. We're not changing any county policies. The law is the law, and it's just a simple matter of they're not necessary. Now the district court has its own entryway. Does anyone have any other thoughts, comments, concerns? If you're like myself, you've got a lot of feedback from this, especially after some of the articles that were released yesterday. Comments, thoughts?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
As the commissioner decided to bring this up, that's exactly the case. We have signs on our entry doors that are actually not consistent with any policy that the county has, any law that the state has. They're just there. I think they've been there for a very long time, and they probably predate the state's preemption of firearms laws. And currently under state statute, we're not even allowed to adopt a policy or a resolution that forbids constituents from carrying a firearm into a public area. The only applicable laws would still be under the concealed carry statutes. A person could not carry a concealed weapon into an actual meeting of the government. But according to state law, they can open carry anywhere in a public facility, and they can concealed carry in other parts of the public facility where a meeting of a governing body is not taking place. So I just ask for my fellow commissioners' support in asking our public works director to remove those signs.
Any other comments or thoughts, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I believe both of you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Richards, have expressed exactly what the intent of this is and where we stand with respect to this. So I think moving forward, that once again, this is something that we as a commission need to follow through with.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Tillman.
the Sweetwater Events Complex removed their sign last summer because of state statute regarding firearms and not being able to deny people the opportunity to do that. I just want to tell our staff, though, we are concerned about your safety, but a sign does not stop someone from carrying a weapon. So the sign is not going to protect you whether we have it or we don't. I just wanted to point that out.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Shanefield.
Hearing from everyone, I would like to just make a motion to have the signage removed from this building, which is applicable with state law.
We do have
Second.
Motion to authorize Mr. Legursky to remove the signage as discussed. Motion by Commissioner Shanefield, second by Commissioner Richards. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Tab N is next on the agenda, commissioners. We do have an appointment for the Weed and Pest Board. Mr. John Iamoni is up for reappointment. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to reappoint John Iamoni to the Weed and Pest Board.
We have a motion by Commissioner Toman. We have a second by Commissioner Slaughter. Any further discussion on the appointment? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Tab O, we have resolution 23-01 CC-01 declaring a significant winter storm. And I believe this was a request by Commissioner Toman.
Well, I just want to thank the Sheriff's Department and his emergency management staff, as well as John DeLeon, Gene Legursky. I have had constituents contacting me regarding some kind of a emergency order or some kind of order that recognizes the severity of the winter storm that we've had. In case there are programs that may become available for the farms through the Farm Service Agency to reimburse for livestock losses, or if there may be programs that may help our road and bridge with costs. It's just a preemptive motion to kind of put it on record that it is above normal. The conditions, once you get out of the area of Rock Springs and Green River, we have substantial snow, as Gene has shown us in pictures and slides of the snow plant that he has had to do. And I'm sure the county sheriff's department has seen that also. So I would just like to make a motion to approve resolution 2301 CC01 declaring a significant winter storm and authorize the chairman to sign.
We do have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shanefield, original motion by Commissioner Toman. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Shanefield.
I did want to mention that currently, there are no federal programs available for this specifically. However, there's a process to getting those programs approved and amended. And I believe that there is some work going on with our national legislation to help support that. And there are 2 other counties that are looking at this as well because they've experienced similar. So there is also support at the governor's office for this as well.
Thanks, Commissioner. Yeah, I did receive some feedback. The question was, is this your first winter in Wyoming?
No, it is not my first winter.
Not to you, it was to me. I just responded with, I think there's more to it, and it just allows in the event of anything in the future, to basically, document that we did, I guess, have these severe winter storms, even though they're nothing compared to what they used to be, but that's the intent behind it. So any other further discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would ask that we also be able to forward this to the governor's office and to the congressional delegation.
Very good. I see no issue with that. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we do have a motion and a second on the table. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Resolution 23-01 CC-01 passes unanimously. And Mary's going to hand deliver it to the governor this week.
Oh, thanks. Oh, we have to get a copy to
Just
sign.
teasing.
Well, we can print it off and sign it today and take it
We will.
with us.
Next up on the agenda is tab P. This is the Specific Purpose Tax Joint Powers Board Master Agreement through some of the work of Commissioner Shanefield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is the next step in forming a joint powers board that will manage the funds that are coming in for the specific purpose tax projects that were approved by the voters in November. So this includes a representative from each of the entities and project groups. And so that does include North Sweetwater Water and Sewer District and Jamestown Rio Vista as well. This was sent out to all of the entities. I did hear back from everyone except for Superior. There were no concerns. I'm open to approving today. I'm also open to just getting feedback and putting it on your radar and waiting until the other entities approve to move forward with it. I do have to say that we will begin to collect this revenue in March. And so there are a few projects, specifically the compressor for the ice rink in Rock Springs, that there's a very limited time frame around getting that installed, just due to when they melt the ice off and then they re-ice it. And so I think that there are a few of the projects that have some urgency behind them. This group also will decide, what projects are bonded, what are prioritized and things like that throughout this whole process. So I think that's all, whatever the pleasure of the commission is.
So I just had a quick question on that, Commissioner. I've spoke about this a little bit over the past few days, but this is more or less just the formality of creating the Joint Powers Board, if I understand it correctly.
That's exactly what it is. Yes.
Okay, and so then after that, is it up to the Joint Powers Board to determine as far as bond counsel, bonding, selling of the bonds, marketing of the bonds, I mean, I think we've worked with Stiefel in the past, as you informed me. But Stiefel's not bond counsel, I'm told. They're underwriters.
Correct.
So is there a plan for bond counsel? And I just know in the past, in the last one, it was very beneficial to have counsel kind of guide the process, and they'll go through with a lot of this. So I assume that you're just waiting for us to approve this before.
Yes.
Okay.
And Stiefel, so the gentleman that we've worked with through this whole process, that works with Stiefel, he has been in touch with bond counsel. He has a couple of different options for us, and has looked at, what bonding might look like, what certification might look like of bonding. There's some laws that have changed in the meantime. And so we've had conversations. No decisions have been made, obviously, because we have to have this joint powers board in place. And my understanding, and I believe, Commissioner Slaughter can help with this as well as Mr. De Leon, but is that the Joint Powers Board would make the decision and then go in front of the commission as well, correct?
Mr. Chairman, my understanding has always been that we have worked with a financial services company to do this. They have then contracted or helped us to contract with the bond counsel, as Commissioner Shanefield has described. I was not personally a part of how that took place, but my memory serves me in the respect that that is the case, that once this is in place, the Joint Powers Board would then be responsible for making those actions. They would then bring that to us as a commission to certify that and to approve it.
Okay. I just want to make sure, I mean, it is January, like you mentioned, the tax is going to start collecting in March. I believe it will start rolling out in April, I believe.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, if I could, my understanding was it was going to start on April 1st. Were they able to get all of the documents out to the vendors earlier? Is that, in the past, it's always started on the 1st of April, and typically it was always on the start of a quarter. So is there something new that has changed?
I am not sure. We'll have to follow up on that.
Okay.
I do know all the documentation was sent to the state and everything was certified and taken care of at that point. I'm not sure what was sent out to vendors.
That's something we probably want, Mr. Chairman, we probably want to look into as to when that date is actually going to take place. We can do that with Department of Revenue while we're in Cheyenne and talk with them.
Yeah, and that was my understanding. I believe that was correct on the last one. It was April 1st because it's the second quarter, the start of the first of the second quarter, I think is how they refer to it. But my point with all that is, a lot of this, even in this agreement, it mentions after all the municipalities and participating agencies sign off on it, then it then goes to the Wyoming Attorney General. And within 5 days of that, we have to appoint members to the board. And so anyway, you can just see it's going to take some time to get all this back. And before you know it, it's now or never. So I just feel like there's a lot to get accomplished with bond counsel and figuring out who's bonding, who's not bonding. We've all had a few conversations with a couple entities that were expressing that they don't want to bond. But then that leads back to, was that part of the ballot question? I don't know, Lauren, you would probably have to. I thought originally everyone was gonna bond, and so we'd factored that into the question on the ballot, but there's just some of those areas that I think there's some questions about that we probably need to get defined sooner rather than later, so.
Yep.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I know we as the commission voted to bond. I don't know how that ties in with the other partners though.
Well, then there was kind of some confusion on if some of those entities aren't wanting to bond, do they need to be a part of the Joint Powers Board? I spoke with Commissioner Shanefield, and I tend to agree, which is what this agreement is. Even if they're not bonding, they should have participation in the Joint Powers Board, because obviously they're still approving, the requisitions that are going out and ensuring that they're going to the projects that they're intended to from the voters. So I think this is just the first step, is what Commissioner Shanefield's after, just trying to tie everything together with the specific projects, form the Joint Powers Board, get it approved by the Attorney General's office. Then it sounds like everything's gonna go into action as far as the bonding, the council, master resolutions, all of that. Is that accurate? Okay.
That's accurate.
Any other questions on this agreement, commissioners? Hearing none, what is your pleasure? And this will need authorization for the chairman to sign if you so approve.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Shanefield.
I'll make a motion to approve the Sweetwater County 2023 Specific Purpose Tax Joint Powers Board Joint Powers Agreement and authorize chairman to sign.
You have a motion by Commissioner Shanefield. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richards. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. I guess or you'll follow up, commissioners, with the municipalities and the participating agencies, just to make sure that we're not getting held up on that. And we'll start rocking and rolling. Good deal. Tab Q is next, commissioners, still ahead of schedule, so we're doing pretty good. This is the discussion of liaison duties. As kind of we talked earlier with the difficulty in setting the agenda and meeting the timelines of the newspaper, I kind of sent just a general list to you all of some past liaison duties, liaison points of contact, whatever you want to call them. And then in the last few days, I've spoken individually with some of you just to kind of figure out what some of your interests might be and attempt to speed up some of this process here today. Obviously, we'll still have public discussion on it, but going down the list one by one, we might be here till midnight. So I just kind of put a rough draft out. I sent it to you all last night for discussion today, and it's certainly not set in stone, but at this time, it would be appropriate to discuss some of these liaison duties and get any feedback or changes that you all might want to see moving forward for 2023. So I would open it up for any feedback.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Shanefield.
I think that one thing that you and I had discussion about that I just wanted to bring out and talk about in public is that I know that some of these component units, they run a very tight ship and they don't necessarily need a commissioner at every meeting sitting over their shoulder. I do think it's really important for us to be involved and build those relationships with the board chairs, with the board of directors as a whole and the directors, and ensure that they, we come up with whatever works for them to be a support system for them. And then there's others that we might need to be there at every board meeting, which I think is absolutely necessary for some of them. And then there's some that, things might come up and then, we attend as necessary. So I think that the list that you put together was very well put together and very thoughtful. And I think that's everything that I wanted to share.
Appreciate that. Yeah. And we did talk and I discussed that with some of the other commissioners as well. Like you had said, maybe some need a point of contact. They don't need a full liaison. Kind of the general sense as I was gathering is there wasn't any disagreement there. It was just more confusing as point of contact, liaison, all that. And so what they were thinking is, if you don't need to go to every single meeting, then it's up to you, so. Any other feedback? It was kind of difficult. I mean, some of these they carry quite a bit of weight. And so I tried to even that out amongst all of us the best I could. There's some of these component units and departments, like Gene and Eric, for instance, they have multiple departments underneath them. And so it's hard to kind of divide those up without giving them 5 different liaisons to report to. So I tried to combine where I could and all that, but how's everyone feel?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Richards.
I want to thank you for all the time you've put into this. I think you've come up with a pretty good delegation of responsibilities here, and I'm happy to serve on as liaison to the boards that you put me down for.
Sounds good. Any other commissioner comments?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate that you put this together and I think it looks great. I would welcome commissioners sometime to pair up though, if you wish to expand like sometimes I would go to the hospital board just to expand your knowledge base. I don't think there's a problem with doing that. The only other thing I would mention is that we are liaison and I think we have to be careful that we don't act as someone's boss or that we get too personally involved that we can't be objective and be in someone's liaison. I just would put that warning out there. The Sweetwater County Conservation District receives over $250,000 in funding from us, and it's a good training ground. I think Commissioner Lloyd appreciated being able to go to their meetings because it's a good training ground for understanding all of the federal legal issues, because one of their statutory charges under 116-103 is to protect the tax base, as well as being the only entity in the county that's actually looking out for the natural resources, the water, air, soil, that type of thing. So I think we need to have someone appointed to the Conservation District. I don't know if it just got accidentally left off or if he had a reason. I don't know that.
Is that a volunteer?
No, I was on it for 21 years. I don't think I need to volunteer. But I will continue to work with the coalition, who writes the comments for us. But I think it would be one of the new commissioners. It would be a good training ground for understanding the federal issues.
Any thoughts, commissioners? I personally feel like I have a pretty full plate. I think it's very important, as you have indicated. That was kind of difficulty in putting together this list is, where do you, what's that?
You did a good job.
No, I just mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Mhm.
happenings in the county, and where do you,
Right.
where do you draw the line? So, improvement districts, conservation districts. I mean, I don't know. Does anyone want to volunteer to be on that, or do you want to leave it off the list? Where are we at with it?
Mr. Chairman, I'm okay with the list as you've put forward.
Any other feedback?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would just like to say, I think it's very important, and I think one of the reasons that we had a problem and went to point of contact potentially was because we were not functioning as the conduit, as it's designed as a liaison. And I think that that's important, that we understand that we are information conduit between those boards. And it's important that we convey the information from those boards back to the commission and vice versa. So I think that's very important. I appreciate the time that you put into doing this. I look forward to learning a couple different things. I had to ask you what the tripartite board even was, because I had no idea. I see that I was assigned that. I guess I will not ask what things are in the future. But I will do my best to learn and work with it. So thank you.
No, my thought behind that, Commissioner, was you had some pretty heavy ones, and that one meets it's not any less important by any means, but it meets more on a quarterly basis. So I thought that might kind of lighten your load a little bit.
Yeah,
is what
I
was
appreciate
after there. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Richards.
Well, I appreciate how important the Conservation District is. We have a lot of important directly elected boards in Sweetwater County. And I think our primary purpose is to liaise with the boards that we provide, that we're appointing commissioners and board members to, and that we're responsible for a large chunk of their funding. We don't appoint members to the Conservation District. They're an elected board. If we're going to liaise to them, then we should does that mean we need to liaise to all the water and sewer districts and the rest, every improvement district? I think they're standalone boards. If they need to communicate with us, they'll communicate with us.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Tillman.
Well, not to refute what you're saying, Commissioner Richards, but we have the airport board, joint powers board, the library, the museum, senior citizen boards, they're all separately appointed. I just feel it's very important to have someone on the conservation, because it is the one who works hard to protect the tax base and gets involved in all these federal processes that determine our tax income for the county. And they do receive a budget of over $250,000 from us. So I feel it's very important that people get involved to just understand what it is that they do.
Yeah, I think the point he was making is most of these are appointed positions, and that's an elected position, or elected board rather. No one's shown any interest in conservation. We will proceed forward. I'm going to read these out loud. And Sally just emailed me for an updated list, so I will get that to her pending approval. But what we have here is county elected officials. Those will answer to myself as far as liaison goes. Core county departments, grants administration, Commissioner Shanefield, human resources and veteran services, Commissioner West, information technology, Commissioner Toman, land use, planning and zoning, Commissioner Richards, Public Works, Engineering, Road and Bridge, Facilities, Maintenance, Custodial Parks, Commissioner Slaughter. Purchasing, Commissioner West. Component units and outside agencies. We've got the Combined Communications Joint Powers Board, Commissioner Richards. County Library, Commissioner Richards. County Museum Board, Commissioner Shanefield. Golden Hour Senior Citizen Board, Commissioner Slaughter. Memorial Hospital Board of Trustees, Commissioner Slaughter. Public Health and Environmental Health Board, Commissioner West. Southwest Counseling Mental Health Board, Commissioner West. Southwest Wyoming Regional Airport Joint Powers Board, Commissioner Toman. Star Transit Authority Board, Commissioner Shanefield. Sweetwater Events Complex Board, Commissioner Richards. Young at Heart Senior Citizen Board, Commissioner Toman. Sweetwater Economic Development Coalition Board, Commissioner Shanefield. By the way, we did meet as that board last Thursday, I believe it was, and decided to essentially remove some of us that were elected on that into a liaison position. So that's where that has come from. Lauren's seat will be up for appointment here in the next couple meetings. And I'd like to say I stepped down from my City of Rock Springs appointment, but I was essentially removed. So the city will be having a couple appointments coming up there, but SEDC Commissioner Shanefield. This was not on the original list, but after discussing with Commissioner Toman, we added Public Lands and the CLG, Coalition of Local Governments, of which the liaison will be Commissioner Toman. And then the final list here is the actual board member appointments. Commissioner Shanefield is currently serving and will continue to serve on the Fiber Optic Telecommunications Joint Powers Board. The Sweetwater County Outdoor Recreation Collaborative will be filled by Commissioner Richards. Tripartite Board, Commissioner Slaughter. The 2023 Specific Purpose Tax Joint Powers Board that we just authorized, Commissioner Shanefield. And then, as you all know, we are members of the WCCA. Typically, the chairman is a member on that. So the Wyoming County Commissioners Association will be Commissioner West. Unless you all see it differently or have any changes of thoughts or opinion on that, I would entertain a motion to approve the Sweetwater County Board of County Commissioners 2023 liaison assignments as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve.
Got a motion by Commissioner Toman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richards. Any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Toman.
We had an ambulance board that gave oversight to Sweetwater medics. I think it would be prudent to have a discussion with Chief Kitchener, who was the chairman of that board, and to at least send him a letter of thanks. And it was a specially appointed board, but I believe that we should, as it was appointed by the commission, I believe it would be in our purview to send them a letter of termination. Legal, may I ask a question? Would that be appropriate?
That is correct.
Yeah, I did have a discussion with Mr. DeLeon last week in
Oh,
regards
okay.
to this.
Okay.
It's not bound by, Attorney General approval or anything like that. It was just a creation as more of an advisory board. We kind of had a lot on our plate, so I left it off for this meeting, but that was going to be my recommendation, was to dissolve that board. It's not necessary. With the change in ambulance, the ambulance is now under Castle Rock Hospital District, so they too have their own board. And so, yeah, I think that's a good idea to send thanks to them. We did have some discussion. I had Sally reach out to Jim Walmsley, Chief Walmsley from Rock Springs. He also felt that kind of what's done is done, and essentially that was formed to oversee the contract that was in place.
Right.
So now you might have two conflicting boards. And so, yeah, I think it's advisable for us to dissolve it and extend our appreciation. And I believe John said we can just do that. We need to take action to address that, John. Might be
It
cleaner.
makes sense to
Yeah.
take action to do that. You can certainly have a letter as Commissioner Toman identified. You could receive a motion to terminate that particular board,
Okay.
whichever you prefer.
Appreciate that. We'll address that maybe the next meeting
Yeah,
together.
that's fine.
Okay. Any further discussion on the liaison duties? We do have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Next on the agenda is a break to sign the approved documents. I know this is important to make sure we get these signed before we head to Cheyenne. And after that, we have an executive session. Why don't we can sign after the meeting, I think, as long as we all stick around and make sure that these get done before we depart. If you're good with it, I'd like to move forward into an executive session to discuss legal and personnel. And it is anticipated that we will likely be required to take action after coming out. So I'd entertain a motion. Got a motion by Commissioner Shanefield. We have a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richards. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. We are now in executive.